Hi friends, and welcome back to another episode of Healing Space. I am your host, Cara. Today's episode is for a very specific group of people in our community, the longtime HS warriors. You've been dealing with HS longer than you've lived without it in some cases. You're tired, you're annoyed, you're frustrated, and if we're being honest, you may have given up hope that anything could even help at this point. Before we begin, as always, I want to thank our sponsor, UCB, for supporting us and this community. Thank you, UCB, for believing in HS patients at every stage, not just when things are new. Let's get started. Let's talk to the people who have paved the way. First, I want to say I see you. When I meet someone who has had HS for 10, 15, 20, 30 plus years, I don't just see someone who has just lived with it. I see someone who has built their life around pain, shame, flare cycles, drainage, clothing restrictions, medical costs, relationships turned complicated, and bodies that constantly ask for more. You didn't just survive HS. You survived misinformation. You survived medical gaslighting. You've survived being told it's just acne, it's just ingrown hairs, it's just boils. You survived being brushed off. You survived being told to lose weight or wash better, just deal with it, or there's nothing we can do. And you kept living anyway. You went to work. You raised kids. You took care of family members. You held friendships. You navigated intimacy. You tried. You adapted. You endured. Whether you know it or not, you made it easier for every person diagnosed after you. I have never met a single longtime HS warrior who didn't have at least one negative medical experience. Sadly, not one. Every single one of you has a story. The surgeon who didn't explain what they were removing, the doctor who treated you like you were overreacting, the dermatologist who acted like you were wasting their time, the nurse who made a face, the family member who implied it was your fault for not washing enough, the partner that blamed you for your weight or being lazy, the specialist who shrugged and told you to just live with it. Those experiences shaped you. They make you protective. They make you cautious. They make you feel like hope is dangerous. You pull away from care. You stop trying. You tell yourself nothing works. And honestly, for a long time, that was probably true for you. You didn't imagine it. You weren't dramatic. You were not weak. The system wasn't ready for you. But here's what I need you to hear today. It is not 10 years ago. It is not 20 years ago. The HS world is not the one you were abandoned in. There are new treatment options. There are new medications. There is ongoing research. I have goosebumps just talking about it. There are more specialists who understand HS than ever before. There are entire communities advocating for you. There are organizations like hsconnect.org with directories, oh my goodness, of dermatologists who actually know what they're doing. You do not have to stay in the shame. You do not have to stay in the same story forever. You might be hesitant to try anything again. Of course you are. You spent years, maybe decades, being dismissed and mistreated. It makes sense that every part of you wants to shut the door and never open it again. But if you would take a moment to listen to me, you paid the price of the past. You do not need to keep paying for it moving forward in the future. Even if treatment didn't help you before, that doesn't mean treatment won't help you now. You've earned the right to try again without shame. I want to thank you for something you probably didn't even realize that you gave us and that you gave me. Every person newly diagnosed today is standing on your shoulders. You raised awareness just by existing, just by going to those doctor appointments. You moved the needle simply by surviving. You made enough noise, verbally or even silently, that medicine eventually had to start paying attention. You normalized conversations about clothing, drainage, scars, pain, intimacy, mental health, and the real day-to-day experience of living with HS. The younger generation is braver because of you. Yes, you. You absorbed the worst of the stigma for us. We're getting diagnosed earlier because you showed the world what HS looks like. We're seeking treatment sooner because you lived through the years when no one believed you. You cleared the path whether you meant to or not. Here is my ask. If you have not seen a dermatologist in years, if you've walked away from treatment because nothing has worked, if you stopped trying because you're exhausted, I hear you, but I think you owe it to yourself to try again. Not because you owe it to anyone, not because you failed, because the world is finally catching up to the disease you've been carrying for most of your life. You simply deserve access to every option available in 2025 because you helped make it happen. Things have changed, and I truly believe you deserve access to every option available that's in 2025, not just the outdated ones you were handed back in 2004 or 2010 or even 2016. I just want to make it really clear there's never been a more hopeful time in the HS community. In the words of Brindley Brooks, there's never a good time to have HS, but it is the best time to have HS. There are more treatments now than there ever were in any other point in history. There is more data, there's more specialists, there's way more advocacy, there's more clinical trials and understanding, more voices refusing to let HS be ignored, and you helped build that, even if you didn't know you were building it, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you for surviving when the system didn't support you. I want to thank you for not giving up on yourself even when everyone else seemed to. Thank you for enduring a disease everyone thought was rare because no one bothered to look or talk about it. Thank you for being the living proof that HS patients don't disappear, they adapt and they persist. They keep going. You are the reason so many of us feel less alone. And I hope, truly, that you get to access all the resources, all the relief, and all the compassion you helped make possible because you deserve it. And I want to thank you for listening to this episode and for helping make Healing Space a place that even exists. I am not the first HS warrior to talk about mental health. There was many more that came before me that helped give me the strength and the courage to show up. I'd like to give you some practical tools to re-engage with the healthcare system that you helped build. The first tool is going to be to start with one new appointment and not an overhaul. You don't need to walk back into the system ready to fix everything. Just pick one entry point. It could be a dermatologist who actually treats HS, and you can find one through hsconnect.org's dermatologist finder. That is a great place to start. Can you imagine? Before you would just go into the emergency room and hope for the best. Now there is an entire database of dermatologists. I've met some of them personally, and they don't just understand HS, they are passionate about it. And your brain might be conditioned to think, because of your past experiences, last time this was awful. There is no way I'm going to do it again. Instead of saying to yourself, I'm restarting treatment, you could say to yourself, I'm just going to go and gather information. I'm going to go test the waters. I'm not going to get in. I'm just going to stick my toe in and see how it feels. See if the water is still frigid or if it has truly warmed up some. Information can feel less emotional than hope, and I want you to have hope, but if hope feels too scary right now, we can just start with information building. Tool number 2 is come with evidence, not apologies. You do not need to walk into the healthcare rooms begging to be believed. You are not a mystery case. You are a patient with a diagnosable condition. Some things you could bring are photos of your skin during flare, a list of medications and surgeries you've already tried, triggers that make things worse that you may or may not know about for yourself, a basic timeline of your HS symptoms, any official diagnoses or paperwork from your past. And this isn't just to prove to whatever medical professional you're seeing that you have the diagnosis. It's so that you yourself can be reminded that this is happening, this is what you're experiencing, and it is documented and it is true. And you don't have to be super put together about it. You can also simply go in and say, here's what my life has looked like with HS, and just tell them all about it. Number 3 is use the tools that didn't exist when you first tried. A lot of the time, HS warriors quit the system because the system didn't know what HS was. And that is not a failure on your part. You couldn't use resources that you weren't given. You couldn't use resources that didn't exist 10 years ago. Some of the things that didn't exist 10 years ago that I would love to tell you about now include HS Connect's Dermatologist Finder. You can go in and punch in your city and find the closest dermatologist that is knowledgeable about HS. There are HS communities, hsconnect.org. We have different online communities that you can access. We have one for teens, we have one for parents, we have the Brotherhood. We also have patient advocacy resources and educational materials. And there are so many new treatment options out there and available. This isn't starting from zero anymore. And then lastly, I don't want to make you feel pressured about going back to a place that maybe you still don't feel safe returning to. If you're going, Cara, I am not going back to a dermatologist and I am not going back to the medical profession as a whole. You don't understand what happened. It is too difficult. I am not doing it. And that's okay too. I'm glad you're respecting yourself right now if that's where you're at. And I totally support you. Maybe something else you could look into is there are so many new tapes and gauzes and different salves that you could try that maybe you didn't know about in the past. Once again, you could go onto hsconnect.org. They have a little flare care kit that you can purchase that gives you a sample of different products to try that HS warriors, all of you who took to the front lines first and found that seem to have the best outcomes. You could purchase that and give that a try and see how it goes. Also, if you're listening to me here, I'm sure you may have found the HS communities online, but there are so many of us that have found confidence thanks to you to share our stories online because you did first. You existed first. Maybe if you are still feeling or you're still having difficulties, I would love to see you in these communities because I'm sure that you could have a lot that you could teach us as well. Thank you again to UCB for supporting this show and this community. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. With love, Cara.